Welcome to the historic Paramount Theater. At this time, we ask you to please take a moment now to silence or turn off your mobile phone. And note that the use of recording devices and taking of photos is strictly prohibited during this event. For your safety, please note the nearest emergency exits to the right and left of the theater, as well as the main entrance doors behind you. If you have any candies or other items that must be unwrapped, we encourage you to do so now in order to avoid disruption during the program. Now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy your time at the historic Paramount Theater of Burlington.
What an introduction. Whew. Good evening. I'm Reagan Garrell, President and CEO of the Alamance Chamber. I'm delighted to welcome you here this evening for the Board of Education Forum. Thank you for taking the time to join us and learn more about the candidates running for our Board of Education. The Alamance Chamber supports public education as it is a key component for economic development success. Our community needs a highly skilled, educated workforce to attract strong jobs and industry committed to investing in Alamance County. This evening, through this nonpartisan forum, you will have an opportunity to hear directly from the candidates about their plans to lead Alamance Burlington school system. The Alamance Chamber believes members of our Board of Education need to believe in and support public education. It is critical for this board to have the best interest of public school students in mind with every decision they make. On behalf of the Alamance Chamber Board of Directors and staff, I would like to thank Impact Alamance and Elon University for your partnership in providing this forum. To the City of Burlington, thank you for hosting us here at the Paramount Theater. Candidates for Board of Education, thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. It is now my honor to introduce Tracy Grazier, President of Impact Alamance.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, especially for braving the weather. How many people saw the rainbow on the way in? I think that's a nice sign of hope for the community this evening, especially when NC is going through so much right now. So Impact Alamance, for those of you who don't know, we're a foundation, and we're a part of Cone Health, and we are committed to improving the health and the well-being of our community. Our vision at the foundation is for Alamance County to be a caring and connected place where everyone thrives. And so how do we do that? Well, the latest research shows that civic engagement is a key element in creating a healthy community. Communities that have higher levels of participation and civic engagement have lower crime rates, they have better mental health outcomes, they have better economic outcomes, and they overall feel more connected. Civic engagement means working together to make a difference in the civic life of our communities and gaining the knowledge, skills, values, and motivation to make a difference. And that's why we're here tonight. You all are motivated to learn about your communities, and we are here to provide knowledge so that you can make informed decisions about who we elect to represent us. The foundation also has education as one of our main funding priorities. As a key social driver of health, we know that children who have access to high-quality public education have a better physical, mental, and economic outcomes as adults. That's why strong local public schools are so important to our county's future, and having a knowledgeable, high-functioning governing board who partners effectively with the leaders of the district is critical. We are very proud to have had the opportunity to partner with Elon University and the Alamance Chamber to provide the community with a nonpartisan opportunity to learn more about the candidates who are running for local office. Thank you for being motivated to learn and for being engaged in the future of Alamance County. Thank you all for your commitment to our community, for your willingness to serve, and for being here this evening. Now I would like to introduce you to our moderator and facilitator for this evening, Dr. Ann Bullock. She is the Dean of the Joe Watts Williams School of Education at Elon University. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We at Elon University broadly support the public schools of our community. We recognize the value of public schools and support our partnership with them. We also believe that civic engagement necessitates political involvement and active participation in democratic decision-making. In keeping with the university policy to remain nonpartisan, all candidates on the school board ballot this fall were invited to participate this evening. Elon University does not support nor oppose any particular candidate for office, and no political fundraising is permitted at this event. I'll keep my remarks brief so we can hear from the candidates, but I wanted to share with you a bit about the Board of Education's role and the format for this evening. The Alamance-Burlington School System Board of Education is the local governing body of the Alamance-Burlington School System. The 7-member board is elected by Alamance County citizens. The school board sets policy for the school system, which is then administered by the superintendent and staff. The school board also sets the direction of the school system through the strategic planning process, and it adopts an annual budget that includes its request for local funding from the Alamance County Board of Commissioners. The North Carolina State Board of Education, as legislated by the North Carolina General Assembly, provides statewide public school governance. The state is responsible for the majority of the district's funding, as well as oversight of core academic curriculum that is set out in all the schools of North Carolina. Just a few words on the format of the upcoming election. The Alamance-Burlington Board of Education candidates are running for a nonpartisan office, meaning there is no party affiliation on the ballot for these candidates. On your ballot, you will see 8 candidates listed, and you may vote for 4 candidates for the board. The top 4 recipients will be elected and serve on the Board of Education. Election day is Tuesday, November 5th. However, citizens may choose to vote early beginning Thursday, October 17th through Saturday, November 2nd. There are 5 early voting locations available to residents in Alamance County, 1 in Graham, 2 in Burlington, another in Mebane, and 1 in Elon. If you are registered to vote in Alamance County, you can vote at any of these locations. Information about times and early voting locations can be found in the program for this evening. Now a word to our candidates before we begin. You will have a set time to answer each question, and I will let you know what that is. We have a timekeeper in the front row. He will signal to you when you have 30 seconds and when your time has expired. I encourage all candidates to be respectful and be reminded that tonight is not a debate. As a result, candidates will not have the opportunity to respond to one another. This forum is meant to be an opportunity to express your thoughts and introduce yourself to the citizens of Alamance County. The order in which you answer questions has been randomized for fairness. I will state the question and call on each of you. I will repeat the question after 3 of you have responded. But as I've said earlier, if you need me to repeat the question, I will be happy to do so. So let's begin. Also, I've informed the candidates that I'm going to call them all by their first name, and that I'm a strict timekeeper because my background is that of a teacher and administrator. So they need to follow all the rules that I have set forth. This question has 2 minutes, all right? The question is, please introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself, what experiences you have to inform your work on the Board of Education, and what motivated you to run for this position. And for this question, we will begin with Avery. Tell us about yourself.
You promised me you were going to do that this time, but that's okay. Folks, you know, my name is Avery Wagner. I am not a native of Alamance County. I've lived in Alamance County for the past 24 years. My wife is a native of Alamance County, and our children were born in Alamance County and received a great public education here at ABSS. And I'm excited about the opportunity to give back to this community. 27 years ago, my wife and I were living in Clayton, North Carolina, which is a great little town. It's not as good as Burlington, but we're sitting, we had our daughter was born, and we were getting ready to have our second child. And I looked at my wife, I said, where do you want to be? Where is this important for our family to be? She said, Alamance County. So we moved back to Burlington, and this is my home currently. So, you know, it's a great place to live, work, and play, and we make sure it's a great place for public education. Our children had a great experience at ABSS. It's very diverse in what they had. They got a great education. They also got a great diversified education where they're around people that didn't look like them. And that's important, folks, in this country. It's important in this world to have an education around those who don't look like you. I want to be able to help provide leaderships and processes to this board. In my business experience, I have dealt with multiple challenges, difficult decisions that need to be made. I am very confident in my abilities to make decisions for the greater good of the group and not just a few, and I think that's important. We have to look at the greater good of Alamance County, and sometimes we might not appreciate the decision we need to make, but if there's a greater good of the county, we have to do so. Folks, we're in a unique part of North Carolina. We're growing. We need for families to look at Alamance County as a great place to live with the opportunity of a high-functioning school system with ample support from the community. My tagline for this election is embrace who we are and strive to be what we can become. Let me say it again. Embrace who we are and strive to be what we can become. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Avery. Next, we'll hear from Peter.
My name is Peter Morecambe. As you can tell, I'm not from around here. I've lived in 7 countries. I have 6 children, and they've attended schools in many different countries, both public and private schools. So I have a lot of experience with getting my kids educated. And I would like to say that out of 46 years of my life, I had at least one child in K through 12 education, although I don't have one at this time. But I do have grandchildren. My 6 children attended government schools, charter schools, and private schools. Only 3 of them out of the dozen or so were world class. And one of those schools was in New Jersey, and the other 2 were in the United Kingdom. I'd like to, before the Grim Reaper gets me, I want to have a world-class school here in Alamance County. And it can be done. So I've had some experience of educating my kids, but I've also set up 6 charter schools in North Carolina and 1 in Florida. The 6 in North Carolina include the Rivermill Academy and the Clover Garden School. And so we had a nonprofit organization I was on the board of that had 250 employees in North Carolina. And 5 of the 6 schools are still around. Our business experience, I was formerly director of operations for factories employing 11,000 people in 5 countries. So I'm used to running large organizations. The Alamance Burlington school system is almost 3,000 people. That's a very serious corporation and has a lot of special skills people. I've also worked as a reading coach in a Durham public school, and I've spent 14 years teaching fiber optics in community colleges and universities.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Seneca?
Good evening, everyone. Seneca Rogers, and I grew up right here in Alamance County. I'm a native of this community. I'm a graduate of Cummins High School, and when I think about back when I was young, I was gifted with a lot of athletic ability. I was able to run a little bit faster than my classmates, jump a little bit higher. But I remember one day my father sat me down and we had a discussion, and he was like, hey, I know that you can run fast and you can jump high right now, but your education, that is something that can never be taken away from you. And that always stuck with me. So I wanted to make sure that then I put my heart and everything in my studies and did exactly what I needed to do all the time in the classroom. And from that education that I was provided here in Alamance County, I was able to get into North Carolina A&T State University, and now I use that every day in my job with LabCorp as I go into work to make sure that I am here to be a part of the solution, not always just pointing out the problem. And that is what I always want to do when I'm on the board for Alamance Burlington School System, is be a part of that solution. When I raised my hand that evening at the board meeting when they was deciding on who to appoint to the seat that Patsy Simpson had left, that is what I told that board, is that I want to be a part of the solutions for our next generation, and making sure that we're providing them as many endless opportunities to what success looks like for them. So that is my story. That is a part of who I am, and Alamance County is always in my heart.
Thank you, Seneca. I will repeat the question. Please introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself, what experiences you have to inform your work on the Board of Education, and what motivated you to run for this office. And again, you have 2 minutes, and next is Sandy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. I'm Sandy Ellington Graves. I am currently serving on the school board. I am finishing year number 4, and I've had the opportunity to serve as the board chair for the last 3 years. I like to say that I wear 3 hats. As a mother of 3 children, I have had a child in ABSS every single year for the last 26 years. My last one just graduated in June. I'm also excited to say she's a North Carolina Teaching Fellow, and she's pursuing her dream to become an elementary school teacher. Public education matters to me as mom. The second hat I wear is I've built a real estate business here in the county. I've been selling houses here for over 20 years. I recognize that strong schools build strong communities. They drive economic development, and that impacts my business. And the third hat I wear is a lifelong resident of Alamance County. And I believe that those 3 hats allow me to bring a unique blend of perspective, knowledge, and experience to the school board. I have been really proud of the work that we've started the last 4 years. It has not been without challenge, and there's been a lot of opportunity, but there's also been a lot to celebrate. And I am seeking a second term on the school board because I'd like to finish that important work and see us move forward. Public education matters. It matters to me. It matters to every single person in this county, and that's why it's important to me. Thank you.
And next, we'll hear from Donna.
Good evening. I first would like to thank Elon University and Impact Alamance and the Chamber for hosting tonight's event. My name is Donna Westbrooks. I am currently serving on the Board of Education, and I'm Vice Chair to Sandy's chairness over there. I am also a lifelong citizen of Alamance County. I graduated from Cummings High School in 1978, compared to Seneca's 98. And I also attended Elon College, where I got my degree in mathematics education, and then later pursued a School of Administration degree at UNC Chapel Hill. I worked for over 20 years as a math teacher, primarily at Graham High School, and then I became an assistant principal that I worked in that role for 9 years between Williams High School and Hallfields Middle School. And then because I had such a strong passion for new teachers, I wanted to help them grow and be the best in their craft that they could be. The opportunity to apply for the Director of Teacher Recruitment came about, and I applied for that and was happily hired. However, after 2 years of doing that job, I realized I sure did miss kids. So after a lot of prayer and reflection, I decided to retire, which I did in 2017. I am married to Ricky for 39 years. I have 2 kids who graduated at ABSS. Lauren is a nurse and Grant is a deputy and also SRO at AO. And I have 6 grandchildren, 4 who are school-aged and also in ABSS. So I've worn nearly every hat I think you can think of in the education arena for the last 40 years, which I believe makes me uniquely qualified to serve on the board. And I just can hope that my educational knowledge and experience will be an asset, and hopefully your vote will allow me to continue that work. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. We'll move to our next question. For this question, you will have 3 minutes. Listen up. As you all know, Alamance Burlington Schools is facing significant funding issues, with the district issuing a hiring freeze and shuttering summer programs as a result of a budget shortfall. Given these issues, how do you plan to approach issues of budget, prioritization, and resource allocation to address the long-term needs of our district? Again, these are randomized, so we will begin with Donna.
Budget planning for ABSS this year was very challenging. Decisions had to be made, and some of those decisions required us having to reduce or even eliminate various programs and programs, and unfortunately sometimes people. And those valuable resources and people, those decisions are hard to make, even though they may be necessary. But in any case, I say that to say this. I look at budget planning as a puzzle, and puzzles, of course, have pieces. The pieces to that puzzle, my budget puzzle, are our children. And each of those children have different needs each year. And we have to make sure that we have met those needs by allocating appropriately, wisely, effectively, and productively so that the needs of those kids can be met. Now, we, of course, we prioritize initially with making sure we have essential resources such as classroom materials and textbooks, technology, and people, our teachers, and support staff as well. But we have to make sure that we allocate all that we do with the funds that we get locally from the state and federal to make sure that we are doing all that we can for each of those pieces of our budget, our precious children. So I know that we have also been gifted from various businesses, from various nonprofits, from individuals, and even PTOs, to schools that have different kinds of needs or special wants that they have. And we actually have business leaders who have embraced certain schools to help cater to their individual needs. And so I challenge our business community to please consider adopting a school that can help do those things as well. I appreciate all that business leaders and PTOs and individuals who have gifted to us already. It has been a tremendous help. But the whole budget thing it can be a nightmare, but it is a responsibility of our board to do that, and through collaboration and, again, planning wisely and effectively to make sure that we are meeting the needs of each of those children that make up our budget puzzle, so that ultimately every piece of our puzzle will fit to make a perfect and complete picture for our ABSS. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Avery?
Thank you. There's no doubt one of the biggest challenges that faces our district and our community is our budget shortfalls. Couple that with the COVID funding that's going to be ending this month, and we've got some challenges, folks, that we've got to dig into and be real serious about. And this is across all spectrums of our community. County commissioners, board members, business leaders, et cetera. We must work to have the trust of all of our community. There are many folks that contribute to the success of our community, and it starts with leadership of our students and our staff. Those are the people we really have to think about going through a budget process. We need to ensure that we fully fund our school systems while at the same time making sure we're doing it in a fiduciary manner. Your tax dollars, to me, folks, I don't take it light. I make sure every dollar that we spend is justified. We're not the wealthiest county in the area, but we need to be creative in ensuring that every child has the opportunity for a positive education experience. We're going to have to do more with less. We get our funding from taxpayers, and we need to be held accountable to them for the funding provided. We need to pull back the layers of the onion that's been growing for years, rank items in order of importance, and tackle the tough issues. If we ask for a dollar, we have to be able to justify that dollar we've asked for. The relationship between county organizations needs to align with one another. Working together for the better of Alamance will provide a better future rather than just worrying about running for office and getting elected. I'm not here today for a re-election campaign, folks. I'm here today to ask for your support in making our children's educational experience a more positive one that will ensure the growth of Alamance County moving forward for years to come, not just tomorrow. With my background in business, I am very confident in my abilities to help with the budgeting process. I've had to complete complex budgets in the past and look forward to working with the group and ensuring that providing adequate resources to our community and our staff while, again, being held accountable for what we ask for. Comparing ourselves to other counties around us, we're a little behind in teacher supplements. We need to work on ensuring that we hire and retain adequate staff and teachers. And at the forefront of every decision we make, folks, has to be you as a family and that student in every school that we serve. That has to be the forefront of every decision we make moving forward. I'm not talking about today, we're talking about tomorrow in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Avery. Sandy?
Thank you. So I would approach the budget from the standpoint, as a board, we put together a preliminary budget, and then we bring it to an open meeting, and we share it publicly, and we seek input. And I think we need to do a much better job at seeking input from the public, from our staff. I was in one of our elementary schools today, and I think one of our teachers said it best. A lot of times the people that are making the decisions don't always know what's going on in the classroom. And I think that was pretty powerful to hear that today from one of our teachers. And I think that's something that we have to keep at the forefront, is we're charged with that decision, but it's up to us to do our due diligence to make sure that we are hearing all of those voices and then putting it together to figure out what's for the greater good of the district. The financial crisis that we faced this year was extremely unfortunate. It impacted a lot of good programs and a lot of good people. And I hope that we see that as a lesson moving forward, to learn from that, to learn how we can be more fiscal with our dollars, but also, as Mr. Wagner said, doing more with less. I think that's the reality that we're facing across the nation right now. And I think that our students deserve for us to do our homework. You know, how many times do we give them homework? So this is the most important homework of the board, is putting that budget together every year. Keeping that dialogue and that collaboration with our county commissioners. We depend on them for over $50 million. I think this past year it was a little over $54 million just in an operating budget. And to have that money from the county, there has to be accountability and there has to be transparency. I think consistent reporting with the county, we're talking about moving to a monthly platform, will take away the surprises as we move into budget season every year. And will create a collaboration where we can trust each other. And I think building the community partnerships, we have enormous support and generosity from community partners in Alamance County, and that's something that I would put up against any school district in the state. And to have that, and to maintain those relationships and work together with our county commissioners, we can move the district forward, and we can give each student the education that they deserve.
Thank you. I will repeat the question. As you all know, Alamance Burlington Schools is facing significant funding issues, with the district issuing a hiring freeze and shuttering summer programs as a result of a budget shortfall. Given these issues, how do you plan to approach issues of budget, prioritization, and resource allocation to address the long-term needs of the district? Next, we will hear from Peter.
Thank you. My complaint about the Alamance Burlington School Board is that its primary focus is on getting more money. I want to change that to getting better results and having safer schools. And with regard to the amount of money that they get, last year they spent $310 million to educate 21,932 students. That works out at about $14,600 per student per year. That is more than enough. The charter schools can do it with about 2,500 less, and they get better results. So I will be challenging if elected, challenging the ABSS board to switch its priorities and work more like charter schools where they can get much better effectiveness from the money that is allocated. And I would say one thing, I agree with certainly Ellington Graves about the relationship with the Alamance commissioners. I would recommend strongly that you stop biting the hand that feeds you. Thank you.
Seneca?
When you're coming down to the budget, and this past year was a lot of challenges, and those challenges was not just solely to ABSS. It was not just an Alamance County challenge. It was a challenge across our state with a lot of public school systems. And I feel like a lot of that challenge comes from the fact that we're still not fully funding our schools from the state level. There is a case that is out there from the state level, the Leandro case, that states that our General Assembly is not providing a sound basic education to all of our students. And we have to remember that. It is the students that are at the heart of every decision that we are making, and especially when it comes down to budgets. And right now, if we're still not meeting that requirement from our state constitution, then we're leaving, as a couple of our colleagues up here said, we're trying to do more with less. I think we need to get to a place where instead of trying to do an either or, we are at an and both, because this is our next generation. And whenever we invest in our next generation, it is an investment for all of our futures. We can continue to do that by doing thorough assessment needs. while looking at what is areas that are truly needed and prioritize those and understand the urgency and impacts that they're going to make. We can also do that by communication and transparency with our county commissioners. A lot of burdens did get put down from our county commissioners this year because of the shortfalls from our state. But also, if we come at the table with a collaborative heart, I think we can get to the places where we need to be and not just have to continue to do more with less. I think we can really do that here in the county as long as we work together and be in this together with each other. Also, making sure that any goals or objectives that we set forth in that budget is always strategic in how we use them and continue to meet those objectives and not just push those to the sides, because we have a goal of teaching our next generation, providing resources to our teachers, making sure that our families are engaged. And when we go through that budget process, that parent and community engagement, I think, has to be a big piece of that, because we need for them to be on board with us on what we're doing as a public school system. And lastly, I would just state that while we're going through our budget, and this year, there was tough decisions, from supplements to hiring freezes to the fact of having to cut positions like school support services. None of that is easy, because at the end of the day, it is about our kids. And all of those positions, any decision that made, that's an impact in those schools. So we need to make sure that we're thinking of that anytime you're thinking of budget.
Thank you all. For our third question, you will also have 3 minutes to respond. Again, the order is randomized. Here is the question. As a leader myself, I value cooperation and collegiality. Can you share a little bit about your leadership experience and how you would foster effective relationships with other board members, the superintendent, and county commissioners? We will begin with Sandy.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. As a leader myself, I value cooperation and collegiality. Can you share a little bit about your leadership experience and how you would foster effective relationships with other board members, the superintendent, and the county commissioners?
Thank you. Over my 4 years of the school board, I have had the opportunity to serve under 3 superintendents, 4 interim superintendents, and with 9 different board members. 3 of those years trying to serve as board chair. It had its share of challenge, but challenge always brings opportunity. I have learned a lot about being self-aware. I have learned a lot about recognizing not only my own strengths, but also my weaknesses, as well as the strengths of those around the table. And the importance of collaboration, not conflict. I have learned about advocating, not arguing. I think that the beauty of the school board is that we each bring a unique perspective, a unique blend of experience and knowledge, and the same can be said for the 5 county commissioners. At the end of the day, all 12 of us just want the same thing, and that's what's best for Alamance County. And it's finding ways of being flexible and compromising to make those things happen so that we all get where we want to be, and that's what's best for the children. And as long as we keep that focus in our work, we always get where we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Peter.
My experience in managing large company spread over 5 different countries, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, I could go on. You can't run it all from New York. So the more you try to centralize it, the worse it'll be. So that's one of the reasons I advocate charter schools, because that's a very decentralized management. Most of the decisions are made at site level and not by some staff person reading a report, by somebody who actually sees the problem. And that's how you must run a large organization that's spread over many sites. Now, of course, you also need to know what's going on in the sites. And that's why I have advocated, and it hasn't happened yet, but you need to have an accounting function to measure the performance of each school. And it doesn't report to the school, it reports to the school board. That's the way it should be. And I would particularly prefer an outside contractor to do it rather than employees of the Alamance Burlington School Board. Now, none of this has been tried, but I can tell you it works very well in large conglomerates like ITT Corporation. And I would like to see it happen. It's going to be a tough struggle to get the rest of the board to agree, but I'll certainly give it a try.
Thank you. Avery?
Before I begin this part of the section, I do want to thank the 3 current board members sitting here tonight for their service. Regardless of what if you feel about how people have served, these folks have given their time and efforts to this community, so we should applaud that and thank them for that. I also thank for other school board members who are willing to run and put themselves out here for this community because, folks, I'm telling you, we're here for a purpose. We're here for the betterment of our community. We're here for the next step in our political career. We're here to help you and our children be growing. But now more than ever, we need effective leadership. The last few years have been very tough on many fronts. And again, I want to thank these folks and Sandy, who's gone through the process for many years now. I can imagine what you've had to go through. Thank you for your leadership. But we also need to continue to work in collaboration with parts of our community, ensuring that the one common goal of providing a quality public education to all of our students, regardless of socioeconomic status. Regardless of socioeconomic status. Every child should have the opportunity for successful public education. Lead by example and not by words is a model I've always followed. Actions mean more than words. Listen, listen, and do you think you've listened enough? Listen some more. I'm very excited about the new hires at ABSS. I think the new superintendent, from all intents and purposes, what I've heard, he's going to be a great leader, and I think our new chief financial officer is going to be a great attribute to our community as well. But they have challenges in front of them. But we need to work together in collaboration and ensuring our community members will improve their lives going forward. What we do today matters for tomorrow. Folks, leadership does start with you. Being here tonight shows that you care about a community and where it's heading, so thank you. We have an opportunity to be great, and we need to pursue that opportunity, whatever it takes. Setting up this community for success falls upon our shoulders, and it starts with public education. I can't say it hard enough, guys. It starts with public education and lifting up our kids and making sure they're future leaders of our community. I look forward to working with current and new board members, as well as faculty and staff, in moving our community forward. Forward for the betterment of all, and not just for a few. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of Alamance County is bright. We just got to get there. We need your buy-in, your tie-in. We need you to trust us in getting us there. Thank you.
I'll repeat the question. As a leader myself, I value cooperation and collegiality. Can you share a little bit about your leadership experience and how you would foster effective relationships with other board members, the superintendent, and county commissioners? Next, we'll hear from Seneca.
When we think about leadership, it's not always about just leading. A lot of times this is about listening. And I use this saying a lot of times of, if you're looking for me, you'll find me in the neighborhood. And yes, it is, I'm Mr. Rogers, but bigger than that, it's about getting out and actually listening to the people, listening to those parents, listening to the students, listening to those people who are actually in our school building, those educators, those bus drivers, and understanding what their challenges are that they have going on, so then I can make sure that I'm advocating in the correct way. When we deal with other actual officials, we need to make sure that all of us are coming to the table with that collaborative heart, with that place of, we're going to have all voices included in this decision that we're trying to make. And understand that at some point we might possibly disagree. That's not a problem at all. We can agree to disagree as long as we're being respectful to each other when we're in those disagreements. I like to say that our kids are always watching us, and they're going to model what actions that we do. So when I talk to my nephew and I'm telling him, hey, yes, you and your friend, you're not agreeing on this, but making sure that you never get disrespectful with him. That is the same leadership that I want to always bring to this board, to make sure that we do not get into a place of disrespect, but we get into a place of true collaboration and being cooperative with each other. And I think we can get there because, as I always say, this community loves public education. This community fights for public education all the time. So we need to all be at that table making sure that we are fighting with an inclusive heart for our next generation. Because at the end of the day, it is about our students, about their families, and about our educators. So let's always make sure that we're collaborating and bringing the hope of ABSS to everyone.
Thank you. Donna.
Thank you. At the beginning of this school year, when Dr. Harrison was our interim superintendent, he wanted to have a retreat, a one-day retreat with our principals and assistant principals, administrators from central office, and he invited the board as well, and I attended. He asked that group to read a book, and it was called A Leader's Legacy, and some people enjoyed it and some people didn't, but it had a lot of information about what those authors felt, what leadership was and how people can determine if they are a leader. One line really spoke to me, and it said, leadership begins with something that grabs hold of us and won't let go. And I'm going to say that again. Leadership begins with something that grabs hold of us and won't let go. Well, for me, that is the education of our children. Over 40 years ago, I had a calling to be a teacher, and that's what grabbed me, is that I wanted to educate the children of this county to the best of my ability, and I feel that I did that. I feel that as a teacher, I was a leader in my classroom, and I modeled exactly the way that I felt that my students deserved as their teacher. I didn't have expectations from them that I didn't model myself. As an administrator, I felt like I did the same thing. I was a leader in that I worked with everyone, teachers, support staff, kids, and again, I was fair and I was consistent, and I felt like I was a true leader there. And then in the next role that I had as the director of teacher recruitment, I worked with beginning teachers. I wanted them to take their craft, and I wanted them to nurture it and help them to grow and be successful in what they do. And you have to have a shared vision, folks, and in education, educating our children is that vision. I believe that we and the county commissioners share that vision. I believe having open and honest communication, mutual respect, and having trust will only nurture and help that to grow as well. The trust piece also is important when it comes to the superintendent and the people that he has trusted in himself to help him to guide and support our school staff to plan appropriately and establish close working relationships with county leaders and other stakeholders. So we have to let him or her, do their job. We have to trust that they are there to do what we expect them to do. If we don't let them do that, then what's the point of having them?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. For our next question, you'll have 1 minute to answer, so get ready. Okay? So we have a group of people that have come out tonight to hear what you've had to say. We have people streaming online. So how would you ensure the voice of the community is heard when you begin to make decisions as a board? Again, this is random. How would you ensure the voice of the community is heard when you're beginning to make decisions as a board? We will begin with Seneca. You have 1 minute.
The voices of our community are very important in the decisions that we make. I have a slogan, but it's more of a movement of we are the neighborhood. And it is about making sure that every voice is heard from all of these different walks of life of people. We can do that by having community town halls, forums, where people can actually step up and state what they need to put out there to us as a board. Also listening sessions, small focus groups, student advisory committees. Also having things such as teacher advisory committees, to where we can actually sit down with those teachers and allow for them to state what is their main needs and what things do they like that we're doing, but also what do they want us to see do better. And I think if we come to the table and know that we're going to have all of these different voices included into the decisions that we make, then we are truly being the neighborhood.
Thank you. Avery?
Amen. Not much more I can say that. You know, one thing I would like to say is that we need to listen and listen, and when we're tired of listening, we listen more before we make a decision what's best for ABSS moving forward. You are our community. The students are our future of this community. We have to listen to you and make educated decisions, not quick, rash decisions, what we think is best, but what we know is best from educated choice. We also have to listen to our teachers. Our teachers are the biggest resource we have in this community. We need to reach out to them, have those teacher moments, like Seneca said, have outreach moments, have a cookout. Let's just have something so we can be collaborative and meeting with one another that's not inside the four walls of educational setting. Let's have personal relationships with one another so we can be friends and talk openly about what's best for Alamance County, because everybody here, everybody on the Board of Education, every teacher and staff member wants what's best for our students at Alamance County. We just need to get there together.
Thank you, Avery. Sandy?
I believe that people will support what they help build. And I think that we need to ask, and I think we need to listen, and to echo Mr. Wagner, and listen some more. Before I got on the Board of Education, I don't know, I only have a minute. Before I got on the Board of Education, as a parent, I would get these decisions, and I wouldn't understand where they came from. And I think part of that is engaging and embracing the community, asking and listening so that they have an opportunity. They may not agree with the decision that we make, but they understand why we got there, how we got there. And I think we're only as strong as our people, and we've got to listen to our teachers and our students and our families.
Thank you. How would you ensure that the community members' voices are heard when the board begins to make decisions? Peter?
This is where charter schools are strongest. They have local boards selected by the parents that have great influence on the way the school is run, and who the principal will be and whether he'll continue in his job. That's not true for a school board that oversees 38 schools. You can't possibly involve parents very much. You need to have much more site-based management, and then the parents will really be involved, and they'll be committed to the success of whatever principal and other staff that they had a part in hiring. And I think that's critically important if you want a true community involvement.
Thank you. Donna?
We have the limited things now as a board, with our public comments and various surveys that we send out for whatever the issue is at the time. And those are very limited, though. I don't think many people embrace that kind of communication. I don't know that I would want to do that myself as a parent, just sitting out there and answering things on a survey. I agree with the things that Seneca said. It's like he copied my mind. But I too would like to see more work in terms of like town hall or zonal meetings. Going into the schools is one of the best part of our jobs, and that's when I have the opportunity to talk with teachers and to talk with support staff and to talk with sometimes parents. I see them in the schools as well, so that gives us that opportunity. I'm all about, I want to praise positives and work together on negative things, and I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So any time that someone wants to talk with me, that email me or call me, I'm always open to hear what they have to say. But ultimately, as I've always said, when it comes to decision making, I'm always the person who likes to reflect and pray about any decision that has to be made before I cast a vote. Thanks.
Thank you. Those are all the questions that we have time for tonight. Can you please give the candidates a round of applause? I'd like to thank them all for being here. Again, all candidates were invited, and so I'm really appreciative for all of you for coming. I'd also like to thank you all for following the rules that I set out for tonight. That's very important. If you want to learn more about these candidates, you can go to www.alamancvotes.org, and you can learn all about their platforms and what they stand for in this important race for our community. I'd also like to thank the sponsors and supporters, the Alamance Chamber of Commerce, Impact Alamance, Elon University, the City of Burlington, and Elon News Network. I'd also like to give a shout out to all the students from the Dr. Joe Watts Williams School of Education that are here. And the rest of the community members that came out tonight. So thank you all for coming, and have a good evening. Safe travels home. Thank you.